Hey guys, so today's project should actually be relatively simple. We're going to do a deep transmission pan on my TJ. It's a 32RH 3-speed auto trans. This particular kit actually says that it fits pretty much everything except for that. After reading a few things, I determined that it should fit, and I had seen that some people had actually done that, so went ahead and ordered it, and now we're gonna get that swapped out. Pretty nice pan here. Has a drain plug, which is a bonus over the stock pan, which doesn't. Nice rubber gasket there, a pickup filter, and then a pickup spacer. So it's kind of got everything there. It was about 75 bucks, so not terrible. So let's take a look at what we've got going on here. So I have got a flat belly skid here, and luckily you can see that I do have just enough room up in there to actually get that pan in here yet. So I'm gonna drop this skid since it comes pretty far forward. With the stock skid, I was looking at one the other day, and you should be able to drop it, or drop the pan here without having to pull the skid, although it might make it easier. But I'm definitely going to have to get mine out of the way here, so I'm going to drop this and then grab what I need for that, and we'll pull that pan. Alright, so you can see that I got the skid off here. Thankfully, I do have a independent transmission T-case cross member there, which means I don't really have to support anything. If you still have the stock setup, you're going to want to support your whole drivetrain here. Usually the best place is to stick a jack right underneath the bell housing. You can still do that and drop the skid. It'll hold everything. Luckily, I don't have to do that. I do talk in a previous video, or I have a whole previous video on doing this independent cross member. So if you want to take a look at what's going on there, just go back a couple videos. So the next step here is actually going to be to crack this open. The bolts around here, there's maybe 15, 20 of them. You can see I pulled one out right there. It's already leaking out. It's a 1/2 inch, so I just kind of went around and loosened all of them. So that's kind of a good way to do it. Make sure everything can come loose first before you start getting too crazy. And then a good way to go is just kind of wedge something in between here. I think I'm going to need both hands for this, but wedge something in between there, a flat blade screwdriver or a putty knife or something like that, and just kind of pop it loose from the transmission. There is no drain plug, like I stated before, so there's a chance it's going to get a little messy. I've got some cardboard underneath me here, as well as my a pan here to catch all of the fluid. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this free, pop the rest of those bolts off, and then we'll take a look inside and see what we've got. Just wanted to do a quick look under here now. What I've done is I've kind of pulled bolts out starting in this corner here, and a couple that way, and then all the way along this back side. And everything else again is loose, so I managed to wedge a screwdriver right up in there. I tapped the pan itself with a hammer a couple times just to kind of shake everything up, and I was able to wedge a screwdriver in there, and you can see it's all kind of draining from just this one corner, which is really handy, so I can actually catch it with the pan here rather than having it either pour out or dump from all the way around. So I'm just gonna slowly work the other screws down and work the screwdriver in there a little bit more, and try to keep everything dripping right out of this corner here so I don't have to make a huge mess pulling this pan out. Okay, so I've got that pan off. That working around it method worked really good. I was able to get a good portion of the fluid actually out of the pan before I had to drop the whole thing. And I just lowered it down and dumped the rest of it into here. My fluid looks really good, which is a little bit surprising to me. I was expecting it to be milky, but that's always a bonus. So the next thing to do is going to be to pull this filter here, and there's 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3 here, and those I believe are a T25. My the Torx bit that I have is actually rusted over, but the T20 is too small, although you could probably make it work, and the T27 doesn't fit, so I'm pretty sure I'm using the T25 here. So I'm going to pull those 3 off, and then start getting the new stuff together here. One more note you're probably going to want to do is if you take a look at the old pan here, this is the magnet here. You're probably going to want to pull that out of your old pan, clean it off really good, get all your gunk off of that. Mine's pretty soaked, I would imagine, so after 200,000 miles here. Clean it off really good and stick it in the new pan. That's having a magnet in anything like that is a great thing to do. Just kind of, if something does go wrong in there, get little shards or anything, that'll help keep everything alive rather than letting it eat other stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this filter off there and then look at what we can do to get that spacer and new filter in there. Alright, next up. So you can see here I grabbed that magnetic washer from the other pan, cleaned it off pretty well, and just stuck it in the corner here away from where the pickup is going to be. This is a billet aluminum pickup spacer that they supplied with this kit. Little O-ring for it. That's just going to slide right in there. And then the 3 new extended of these screws. Those ones are 8mm, not a funny Torx or anything like that, so just an 8mm for those. And then there is the pickup filter over there. They did supply also a nylon washer here. I'm not entirely sure what that's for. It doesn't quite fit over this drain plug bolt, and it doesn't fit inside that or anything else. So I'm just gonna run everything without that and see how stuff goes. If I come across something where I think it needs that in the process of putting this back together, I'll certainly let you guys know. Otherwise, I'm gonna grab this and that filter and get that up there, then I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. Okay, so I've got that new spacer and that filter on there. That went in pretty smoothly. It's kind of got a weird shape, and the bolt holes are kind of a certain alignment, so you don't really have to worry about which way it goes. It can really only go on one way. So that was really nice. What I did do is I took a little bit of this orange thread locker here. It's designed specifically for vibration. And I stuck that on each one of those bolts. Hopefully that should give that a little bit more, a little bit less chance of coming undone. And then I also went ahead right away and took just a scraper here and cleaned the edge off all the way around the original the liner there between the pan and the transmission itself was actually cork, so it did leave a little bit up on there. Most of it came off with the pan though, so that was good. The last thing here, I guess, is just to get this rubber one on there, wipe this out really good one more time, and then they actually want me to use the factory bolts to throw that back up there, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I managed to get that on. Everything went in pretty smoothly. I was actually able to push a couple bolts up through it while I had it on the ground here, and the rubber gasket that came with it is great. It's pretty tight around those bolts, so they were actually just held them in place there. So I got that up, worked my way around, torqued everything down a few times over. The only thing left to do really is just to add trans fluid, and found out that I am actually out of trans fluid, so I need to run to the store and grab a little bit of that, and then we'll test everything. They have a testing procedure that they talk about in the instructions here, just to make sure you have the right amount of fluid in there, and then that should be good to go. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning that I wanted to mention now while I had the chance is the reason that I'm going ahead and doing this is mostly I needed to do a transmission flush anyway. It's been a while and I wasn't sure about the condition of the fluid in there. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't milky or anything like that, and I wanted to actually add that extra in there because I was doing hill climbs a couple weeks ago and my transmission was not liking it. It was kind of, you could tell that it wasn't getting enough fluid, and that's pretty hard on that, especially when you're in 4 low, kind of giving it uphill it just wasn't happy overall. So actually, while I was out on the trail waiting for somebody else to do something, I ordered that kit up and then just finally got to it now. So hopefully this makes a difference in the future with stuff like that. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.